Tanya.
Hi, Anna.
How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome. Well, I'm Anna,
I'm Tanya.
and we're the Paradise Patriots.
Aloha.
So, I wanted you to talk about your great idea you had about how taxes should flow. I thought that was brilliant.
Really, I've mentioned it to so many people that I usually get laughed at.
Oh, I know. I thought that was brilliant. So,
I think taxes should be collected by the county. So I think we should file a county tax form where the county gets the majority of the taxes, which then gets filtered up to the state and then gets filtered up to the feds. So that the people who are in charge of the largest amount of money are the people that you're holding accountable. It's right in your community. And so then it has to be figured out how to actually, figure out where that money goes and how it's spent. But instead of it starting at the feds and then it filters down to our communities, I think it should move the other way.
that's, I love that.
I've always loved it too, but I've brought it up to different people over probably a decade, and people usually just laugh at me and say, that'll never happen.
Oh my God, we have to start doing that.
That'll never
never happen.
But it seems such a simple thing to course correct how the money is accounted for, what it's used for. It shouldn't filter down from these people who are far away from us. I mean, the things that we need money for federally are things like military protection. If we have something to protect,
Highways and roads.
Right, highways and roads. And so it filters up. But, that way we have more say over what gets done with it.
So, I mean, when you think about it, that's really kind of crazy. So, all of the money gets hauled out of here along with the resources and everything else, and then we have to apply for grants.
We individually, think about this. We all individually send money, to this entity.
Yeah.
That then our county
33%.
has to apply for grants, the
Right.
state has to apply for grants.
Yeah.
They have to go through these crazy processes to get the money
Yeah.
back from the people that are living right here.
Yeah.
It's always, to me, seemed like not set up the right way.
Well, it's set up exactly the way they wanted it to, but I just, when you said that, I was like, oh my God.
I'd love to know what people think about that.
I think that's, well, in some ways, I guess that's sort of in alignment with the idea of states' rights and a decentralized government,
which I'm
allegedly, I think the Republican Party's supposed to be there somewhere, but I think that's probably more of a libertarian.
And I do think that there should be more power to the states.
I agree, and I'm not a fan of centralized
If they want
government.
to be anti-gay in Kentucky, guess what? I would never go there. You know what I mean? And the people who don't want to go there won't go there. They won't. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, I don't know. I don't know.
Take care of your own place, basically. Right.
Right.
So, no, I thought that was a brilliant idea. And it's good to share those things just so people can start to think a different way or look at things and have a different perspective on it. I'm sure who even thought of that. But, I know for myself, in my decades of working, 33% of my income went.
More than Donald Trump's percentage of his income.
Yeah,
You're paying a higher percentage, right?
Right, and I'm still in the same. I'm retired now, so I'm still in the same bracket of every other retired, and then I pay taxes on that. It's like, wait a minute, I already paid taxes on that, so you pay taxes twice on your.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So and not really get, because you max out at a certain point of what you can collect. So I'm like, oh, that's all you get for 40 years.
I just think it's not even just the whole money flow and where the money goes. It's really how you hold the people accountable. I mean, think of how much money the state gets. We just talked to Senator Ruderman about this. How much money does the state get for certain things? They have from the feds. We have to go research that and find that out. You know what I mean? It's like, well, this should be really. I don't know. It just could be a better streamlined.
Well,
process.
and you just for an example, the just maintenance of the roads or highways or whatever. So a portion of it is paid for with a federal grant, and then the other portion float bonds.
Right.
So there's interest on that, and so all of our money's gone, and then we have to apply for part of it, and then we have to take out loans for the rest of it. So.
But see, nationally, we wouldn't have to have universal health care if we gave this power to the states
and the communities to
decide, so that people would move to where they want to go. It's almost like I don't feel like public schools should all be striving to be good at everything.
Exactly.
It's not possible. Some schools are going to be better at some athletic programs. Some will have more performing arts. Some will have more
Science,
math
and
and science
yeah.
and tech or something. They don't all have to be really good. And move or get your kid to the place where is more aligned with who they are and what they're good at. And I don't think this whole idea of cookie cutter, all these schools have to be good at everything. Medical centers aren't always like that. You have cancer treatment centers, so there can be specialists. And our school system is very unflavorful because there's no competition.
And
really.
It's, right, it's forced on them.
And I'm not saying that competition is always a good thing, but it's forced on them, and it's forced from a national perspective.
Right.
People here in Hawaii are very different. Even the people who are attracted to move here and then have kids here, those kids are very different than the needs of the kids who are growing up in Boston, Massachusetts. You know what I mean? There's different needs, and there's different ways of nurturing the spirit of the child based on where they are and having a sense of place. So
I agree.
our policies and the way our government is set up should reflect that. My hope is that our consciousness is moving to a place where we can completely redraft how, government is set up and works.
And doesn't work, and doesn't stick their nose in where it doesn't belong.
And on that note, I'm very GOP minded in some senses. I do believe in smaller federal government.
Well, and I guess there's some of that. I think that's another libertarian idea, if I remember right, is just paying a flat tax, and that's it, and that's the budget, and that's what you get, and that's the end of it. It's like anyone else. You don't get to continue to, unbridled growth or
right.
you know.
And my other issue is like corporations, then they pay so little tax, yet they're the ones utilizing so many of our natural resources. So there should be a way that they are paying tax in relation to what they're producing and manufacturing, and you know, the land that they're killing, and the garbage they're making. So bottled water, let's just use that for example. So they're maybe taking a natural resource that could be easily regenerated, but they're putting it in plastic bottles, they're shipping it around, so there's a consumption value there. Mm-hmm. There's not just the consumer's consumption value, there's the corporation consumption value. So they should be paying a higher tax for utilizing natural resources that cannot then be reutilized. You know, you're creating plastic. How long does that take to, I don't know. That's a very complex formula that would have to be created. I understand that. But just the thought to... And
I don't know if it's that complex.
People will try to make you think it's
extremely
complex.
It's pretty straightforward.
You know, like if you're making Coca-Cola, why is Coca-Cola paying less taxes than the Anasazi family?
Right. And you're generating 100 million plastic bottles a year, and it costs so much to melt those down or recycle those or whatever.
But I have to go out, you know. But you want to, and I'm totally for the soda tax, you know, because I think people should drink less tax and hit them in their pocketbook, and they'll drink less. But at the same point, it does suck for the consumer to always be hit with this stuff. Yeah. Because the corporations don't get penalized for the shit that they're doing. Yeah,
you're paying 5 cents extra for the bottle.
Right.
And allegedly you'll get that 5 cents back when you recycle it, but it doesn't really work that way. But well, and I mean, we could go on and on about that, but then there's also the, corporate welfare. Right.
It's the best
That's another
game in town.
I'll say.
I'm coming back in my next life as a corporation.
Oh my God.
Or one of your dogs.
Come back
or one of your foster dogs, or a corporation, because they don't pay nothing.
Well, they make billions on. So.
You know, and so anyway, those are just my ideas.
I think I love that idea. I really love that idea. I think we should always just however you can to think outside the box. Just like the one thing we were talking about that day when. I can't remember what conversation we had, but it was about the things in the Democratic platform in terms of energy and then economy and the simple, and it was not my idea. I remember reading it somewhere else where if every home had solar panels and a small windmill and they were all feeding that back into the grid and getting paid for the energy that they were producing, and you did it in the form of a cryptocurrency. So that stayed in your community. Right. So all of that revenue.
That's why the solutions really aren't that difficult. We're our own obstacles. people are our own obstacles
I think
to
our
these
political
ideas.
system is because
It is,
we're held
the
hostage to health code.
system is
Yeah. In our
the entire government system is the way it's set up is the obstacle to getting these things done.
Right. And then there's the argument that wasn't actually an argument, because I wouldn't go there, but where the opposite of that is to privatize everything. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I don't know about that either.
No, you can't do that. Resources have to be held in common.
You know,
Have to be
like
held in trust.
I think there's a combination. You know, I would love to be part of like a think tank or something that discussed those kind of things. Like maybe universal health care in the state should be free for all primary care, and then once you get to something else, you know what I mean? Then there's like tiers or something, because then the big focus is on preventative medicine. So, and you start that. What you do is you start that with newborns. So they're covered under a different healthcare plan. You know what I mean? Completely different plan, so that it's very different. And they're grown up. They're grown up. They're going to grow up under this preventative, you know, initiative model. So they're going to be healthier. They're going to have much different outcomes. You know what I mean? For meeting certain criteria, you know, nutrition wise and that kind of thing when they go for their well tests. You know, there's really ways to talk about this and create plans that are very quick. They don't have to take 20, 40 years.
No, it doesn't.
They can take place. You know, you could start a new next generation. Everyone coming to preschool is covered under this. You know what I mean? You know, there's so many ways to think out of the box.
Right.
But our government entities and people who have been in office for many years, which it's always like it's a career for them. They learn to not think out of the box. They learn all the no's. They put the no in innovation. I had a former boss that used to say that. Oh my God, these guys put the no in innovation. And it's true.
That is true.
They put the
It's
no
so
in
true.
innovation. And so innovation never gets off the ground. There's so many no's that it's so watered down it doesn't look anything like the vision.
Right.
And then they stretch it out over years.
Right. What starts, you know, just for an example of solar panels and a windmill on every roof and a cryptocurrency ends up to be in 50 years we're gonna float a model neighborhood with five
windmills in the community
and script that can be
and people fanning you. Humans running on treadmills for electricity.
Script that can be redeemed at 3 stores in the community for $5 or less.
And we'll have that implemented by the year 2200.
And it'll die in committee.
That's too soon. We don't know how to figure that out. The lobbyists are going crazy. Their great-grandchildren will be very irate about this bill. I mean, it's like, are you people serious?
Yeah, right.
Like, don't you want to see change enacted that benefits as many people as possible? In your own lifetime? Don't you want to see that in your own lifetime?
They don't.
I got clear on that today.
Yeah,
they don't.
They have their own agenda.
They have their own agenda
that is being worked behind the scenes.
Right.
And this is just an apparatus to have that happen.
Right.
That's why ultimately in that conversation I had over the issue of privatization, I said, we're already privatized. The government gives our resources and our tax revenues and everything to a certain percentage of the American population, whatever you want to call them. I don't like.
School was a magical, collaboration between private and public, and so that, or maybe it's all a public with vouchers where core subjects are covered in the regular schools. We already have them. These huge schools, right? Schools are so big. I don't believe in large schools at all. My kids really lucked out going to charter schools here, and it was just such a more family, familiar environment. Everyone got to know each other. It was like in Ohana. And then you had for your extracurricular type stuff or your electives, even as young as like 3rd grade and stuff. Hula should be there should be a hula in every school. I mean, it's just I don't know. Basic things.
Yeah, I've always felt
performing arts. There's certain things that we should have. Mechanics, car mechanics. We live on an island, and we live in an era where we're going to be taking care and repairing, reduce, reuse, recycle. And so we need people who can repair cars and, all kinds of equipment and furniture, and there's stuff, creative things for people, kids all ages to do, to express their creativity.
Yeah.
And every school doesn't have to be good at all of these. You know what I mean? And then you find a way of transporting the kids around to where they need to be, so maybe they're not going to their full school day at the same school, or maybe on Tuesdays and Thursdays they're going for their performing arts and their athletics or whatever it is, you have to completely think out of the box that people are like, well, that doesn't make sense, because
That was
right?
a lot of the charter school movement had to do with kids being in pods,
Right, which is so much better.
Yeah, and bringing in makuas and kupuna, so that there was that span of
Right.
wisdom and experience,
Right.
and helping each other. And I don't know if that's still going on, but I know when Kanu Okaina started, that was one of the ways that classrooms were set up. It was in pods, and all those age groups.
Smart. And so the public school system, instead of fighting, at least in this state, instead of fighting the charter schools, learn from them and go,
There's
how
a cap
can
on
we
charter
really
schools.
shift, and how do we reframe this, and then it's a lack of creativity in thinking.
And then
Problem
when
solving.
that didn't get, when it wasn't settled in a way where everyone had a seat at the table, now, we're going to have that process handed to us from Betsy DeVos,
Right.
which isn't what we wanted either.
Right. Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
So,
Yeah.
I guess when you live by default, you end up with something you really didn't want.
Ta-da! And that's why the world is the way it is,
Yeah.
because we've been all living by default.
Default.
And letting these political parties make up their minds and doing that thing. We've been sending a petition or whatever here and there, but we're basically living by default. Not all of us, but
No.
to a large degree, the majority
Collectively.
of us. Collectively,
Collectively,
we're living
yes.
by default.
Yeah.
So this is what we've got.
So,
Which is kind of good, because everything's so fucked up, excuse my language, that it's almost like a clean slate.
Yeah, or you better do something,
You know?
because,
Right, we
Yeah.
better do something. Anyway, that's just my manal.
It was awesome. And I love that idea about the taxes, so that was good.
All right, well, maybe someone else will like it too.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Anna.
And we're the
Paradise
Paradise Patriots.
Patriots. Aloha.